Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411. We are continuing with Lucky and Liz. It's Lucky number 13, but actually it's Lucky number 19. It's Lucky and Liz number 13.
Got it.
I think I made that joke whenever it was his number 13 too.
Probably. It sounds like a Shannon joke.
So we left off where they had so the group, it was Liz, Lucky, Nicholas, and Emily were dealing with, Emily waking up dead somebody next to her dead. Carly's getting all mad that Liz and Jason are becoming friends. And Liz is kind of in the running for being the deception model.
Yep.
I think that was it.
Yep.
Okay. So we pick up where we see Elizabeth arriving at her studio, and she was pleasantly shocked to see Jason. He said hi in that innocent and handsome way he has. Oh, curly Q girl. What are you doing here? What are we doing? Okay. The two hugged. Oh, to be fair, though, this was not Jonathan Jackson Lucky. I wonder if that is why some people...
Oh.
I am truly curious, okay? Because, everyone's entitled to have their own favorites and their own pairings and whatever. Like, it seriously is fine. Ours is obviously Jonathan Jackson.
Right.
But I'm truly curious how many people chose Jason over... This is so horrible. How do I always forget this guy's name?
Other Lucky.
But it's not. It's in between Greg Vaughn and Jonathan Jackson Lucky. Oh my gosh. Lucky Spencer. I am so sorry. I feel so bad. Like Jacob Young. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with him. I'm sure he's a fine actor and everything else. He's just not Jonathan Jackson.
Right. He had big shoes to fill.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious how many people fell in love with Lucky and Liz as Jonathan Jackson, like the original, versus how many people were Lucky and Liz fans originally and then switched to be or Liz and Jason fans, versus also people who saw Liz in a relationship for the first time with Jason.
Right. I'm sure
that's the only one that they know is, wow, she's not really, what's this whole Lucky Liz thing? It's meh, but then she does have chemistry with Jason.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about this. This is a stat I would like to see.
What about the people that went her with Nicholas instead? I know that's not an option.
I don't feel like that really had a following.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
I liked it with Nicholas better than New Lucky's, but I liked it with Jason over Nicholas, and then Lucky, the original Lucky, over anyone else, obviously.
So where would it go for you? Here, we're just going to do this real quick at the beginning of this episode. So Liz and original Lucky, then Liz and Franco. I feel like that would be mine.
Yeah, I guess that's the next best one. Oh, she's had some crappy relationships. I don't know how to deal with that.
But anyway, I think you know where I'm going with this is that how many people just didn't, because I feel like Lucky and Liz fans may have stuck it out through the bad Lucky with the hopes of.
Yes.
But then we are going to get into a rough spot with the Jonathan Jackson Lucky too.
Yeah.
But that's a normal relationship. Not all relationships have, I don't know which brother is the father. But yeah, okay. We're not going to give too much away. We're going to get there. Sorry for the 5-minute squirrel. All that to say, she and Jason hugged. And she started... And she started to ask him questions. He told her that he could not answer now. He asked her for help. He needed a place to hide out, and no one could know that he was there. She said it would be a little difficult considering that Lucky was on his way to the studio. He asked again, please. She was about to reply when there was a knock at the door. She pulled Jason into the closet and went to answer the door. Wouldn't she have pushed him then? But whatever. Lucky asked what took so long. She looked up at him as she thought of what to say. Elizabeth is forced to give Lucky the bum's rush after Jason reminds her that no one must know that he's there. Nicholas and Liz are at Kelly's and they discuss the photo shoot. He says, oh, this is also when Lucky was the photographer.
Mm-hmm.
He says that, and we did a lot of that detail when we talked about deception. So I'm sure some of this is going to be crossover, but then there was probably a lot more of just Lucky and Liz that we didn't talk about with deception.
Right.
Nicholas says that she was good and she complains that there were too many people there. They talk about Gia. Liz says Gia is nervous and Nicholas says she needs to prove herself to her family. Laura enters and goes over to Liz and Nick to talk about the photo shoot. Gia comes in and is tense. Laura and Liz are rude. Laura goes home. Tammy says Liz can go home and Liz orders takeout. Chicken soup, corned beef on rye with sauerkraut and cheese. Tammy recognizes it as Jason's favorite order. Ooh. Liz covers and says Jason got her hooked on it. Liz has brought Jason dinner when he complains of boredom, offers to fill him in on the events of the day. After her explanation, Jason cuts to the heart of the matter, remembering Tom, the evil photographer. He asks Liz if she really wants the job. She sounds torn, but mentions all the paint she could buy with the money. Oh, I love her as head nurse, but I loved how she was getting back into art with Franco.
Yes.
I hope that Lucky brings that back out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Emily asks Tammy to rent a room at Kelly's. Emily, Lucky, Tammy, and Edward face off. Tammy ignores Edward's blustering and says that the room is Emily's if she wants it. Edward threatens to report Emily as a runaway, but is stopped momentarily by harsh words from Lucky. Lucky begins yelling at Edward, saying that leaving home was the best thing that ever happened to him and that his parents would never have banished him to California. Emily lays down the line, saying she wants to come home, but won't. And then, they have words, and finally it calms down, and she discusses her future with Lucky. She's going to be cut off from the Quartermain funds. She'll have to give up on Ivy League school. And then Lucky just tells her that she's taking a big step and hopes that Xander's worth it. Emily tells Tammy that she wants the room, and she and Lucky head upstairs. Liz tells Jason, and Liz is also still living there too. So it'd be like the three of them having their own little apartments. Liz tells Jason about her perfect life with Lucky. The conversation turns to Emily, and Liz tells Jason that she has moved into Kelly's. Jason gives Liz money to give to Emily, but says not to tell her that he's in town. Lucky comes by, which sends Jason fleeing to the closet. Lucky wants to bring Emily and Xander over to the studio, but Liz manages to convince him to go back to Kelly's with her. Lucky and Liz are heading out, but Carly stops them, asking Lucky to shoot Gia tomorrow, like he did for Elizabeth. They have a brief argument, and then Lucky agrees to do it for a $2,000 fee. And this is when Sonny had paid into deception for Carly to have something to do.
Yep.
And then Elizabeth stopped by her studio to bring Jason some food. She was kind of rattled when she arrived. She confided in Jason that there was a girl who was up for the same modeling job who just continued to aggravate her constantly. Elizabeth wished that she could be like Jason and keep quiet and not let Gia get to her. Jason told her that it was fine because getting back in Gia's face is who she is. Elizabeth then sympathized and told him she could not understand how he could be okay with Carly and Sonny all comfortable at the penthouse and him sneaking around to protect them. Jason told her not to worry about it and was just like, so are you even sure that that's what I'm doing? Because he says that Sonny and Carly are where they belong, and so is he. He's where he wants to be. Oh, I imagine that scene was probably slightly goo-goo-eyed.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so I guess we are going to have to touch on Liz and Jason to understand. Oh, man. We're going to have to mark this one as the prologue to Jason and Liz when we do that one. Okay. Elizabeth told Jason that while he and Sonny were meeting, she was with Nicholas and he was helping her put together a scrapbook for Lucky of the year that he missed. She said that the only thing she couldn't put in the scrapbook was him. I can't tell Lucky how you rescued me at Jake's and how you saved me with the long bike rides. You made me feel better than anyone ever could. So there was definitely a lot in the previous that we did not get into as much detail as we are here. We were also not given that much detail. So I feel like this is probably when it was really getting more detailish, right. I guess. You made me feel better than anyone ever could. And Jason then said, you don't need to put that in the book. You know how it felt, and so do I. Elizabeth then asks, "Do you ever think about those times?" And Jason replies, "Yes, all the time." As he and Elizabeth look deep into each other's eyes, it was getting pretty deep in emotions at that time. Elizabeth was about to say something, but she excused herself and she said she had to go to Kelly's before people started to look for her. Jason let out a big breath because the air was so tense in the studio. Elizabeth tried to hurry out as quickly as she could, but Jason stopped her and said that he needed to pay her. Elizabeth turned to Jason, looked him in the eye, and said, "We're even because you have done more for me than I have ever done for you."
Aw, Gia showed up for her practice session and was reassuring herself when Lucky walked in with the camera. She asked what he was doing there, and he said he was there to take her picture. Like, duh. He was being paid well. She didn't like the idea since his girlfriend was the competition. She was livid and going to leave when Carly came in. She accused Carly of setting her up, making a joke of her. Carly said she was offering Gia the chance of a lifetime and Lucky was a good photographer. He had taken some great shots of Elizabeth, so imagine what he could do for her. She finally convinced Gia things were on the up and up, and Gia was put in the hands of the makeup people. Later, Lucky told her to imagine Helena and Stefan far away on a raft and just dance. Gia looked gorgeous and really gets into the fantasy of Helena and Stefan lost at sea. She turns it on as the music plays and Lucky snaps away. Nicholas and Elizabeth, that's like a really weird thing to think about whenever someone is taking pictures, though. Like, I get he was trying to get her mind off of them, but they're on a raft far away. Okay.
Right.
Nicholas and Elizabeth are set at the cottage putting together Lucky's Valentine's Day gift. Nicholas compliments Elizabeth on her relationship with Lucky and how they are meant to be together. Gia returns home after a successful shoot and is very smug to find Elizabeth. Immediately, Gia puts on her armor and gets ready to blast Elizabeth. Elizabeth starts to leave and picks up her items, but then Gia asks if she had seen her test photos. Then Gia asks if she was anxious to see them. This puts Elizabeth over the top as she leaves as Nicholas shook his head. Gia's next statement was to Nicholas, and she said, "Don't bother defending Elizabeth because there really is no point." Lucky runs into Liz at Kelly's. He tells Liz that he has earned a lot of dough for doing a photo shoot of Gia for Carly. He says, "Let's go to New York." Naturally, an irate Liz says, "You did what?" Liz is mad at Lucky for taking test shots of Gia without asking her first. Lucky says she is overreacting, and Liz storms out and heads straight for Jason because Jason is the only one who will be totally honest with her. She tells him all about Gia and Lucky and finally admits she was hard on Lucky. She decides to stretch canvases and apologize to Lucky tomorrow. She gets a splinter, which Jason helps her remove, and they stare into each other's eyes. At the studio,
Ooh.
mm-hmm. At the studio, Elizabeth complains to Jason that Lucky should have asked her permission before taking Carly up on the offer. Jason asks Liz if she is worried about her competition. She admits, yes, she is, that Gia is tall, beautiful, and exotic, while Liz has a goody-goody muffin face. Jason laughs and asks who called her that. Carly, of course.
Hmm.
Yep. Lucky barges in on Gia and Nicholas, saying that Liz is upset with him for not asking to take the practice shots of Gia, which of course Gia didn't tell Nicholas about. Nicholas agrees with Liz and convinces Lucky to apologize to Liz. Lucky tries to ease his guilt over photographing. Okay, this seems like it was blown up into a really big deal. I'm sorry, but like, if I was asked to do a job, she paid me $2,000. Yeah, I took pictures. Like, what?
Right.
Okay, I know they were young, but reading this now, it's like, really? I can't believe Jason like agreed with her. But okay.
Well,
Lucky
he was
tries.
still kind of young too, because he's only like a little bit older than them. So
I guess so. I
they had
guess so.
not
But it just,
all experienced all the things that they've experienced at this point.
I
But
guess, but it
now
just
they're
feels like Jason would be like, come on, let's get over this. Like he was already working for Sunny at this point in time. Like someone taking photos, not something to be so upset
and
about.
also Lucky just came back from the dead. So how about we just celebrate that the guy's trying to make a living?
Right. It wasn't like they were nude photos of Gia. They were just
Right.
pictures for a test shoot. But okay. Anyway, Lucky's trying to ease his guilt at the same time that Liz is fighting her own guilt for hiding Jason from him. Both agree to not hurt each other again. Lucky surprises her by hiring a limo to take them out for a special dinner. Lucky swears he will never lie to her again. He says that the honesty between them is what makes them special. Liz's eyes fill with tears.
How many times have you been taken out just to dinner in a limo?
Never. The only
Yep.
time I've ever been in a limo was the first time I was ever in a limo was my wedding, and the last time was my sister's wedding, which was just a few months after mine.
Okay, so when are we renting a limo and going to dinner?
Where are we going to dinner that Warren's paying for a limo?
It doesn't matter. We're just going to go do it.
Okay.
We're going to have a girls' night where we're just going to rent the limo and go to dinner. We can go to the melting pot. I know that's not that fancy, but
Right. That's not melted. That's no. We can Uber. There you go. That sounds a lot cheaper.
that's not the same.
Limos are expensive. I'm really cheap when it comes to stuff like that. Again, that's
Listen,
why
I
the
get it,
only
but we should
time
treat
I
ourselves.
that's why the only time I ever had one was at my wedding. And that was the reason that I was drunk at my wedding was because they give you that bottle of champagne and nobody in my wedding party wanted to finish it. And I was like, we paid for this, darn it. So I drank it all
Right?
myself.
Nice.
Not a good idea to do on your wedding, by the way, but I had a good time. Anyway, Lucky came down the stairs at Kelly's and asked Nicholas and Gia if they had seen Elizabeth as she had disappeared again. He asked Tammy if she knew where Elizabeth was, and she said her studio. Lucky got up and told Nicholas to enjoy his lunch from hell. Nicholas asked how he and Elizabeth were, and Lucky said that they had made up at dinner the night before. Gia asked if he had to throw orchids at Elizabeth's feet and take her on a horse-drawn carriage ride. He told her he picked her up in a limo. Gia commented how sweet that was, that it made her teeth ache. Gia is so not nice. Elizabeth went to her studio and found Jason stretching her canvases for her to prevent her from getting more splinters. He asked how things were with Lucky, and she told him that Lucky had came by Kelly's with a white rose and an apology for taking Gia's picture without telling her. They had dinner at the Port Charles Grill. He told her he was happy for her. They stared at each other, then she left, saying that she would pick him up some lunch. Sonny came by to see Jason and told him it was time to make a move on Sorrel. He said Valentine's Day seemed appropriate. Jason said he would be ready. He had a clear view of the warehouse from where he was. Sonny left and ran into Lucky outside Elizabeth's studio. When he said Lucky's name loud enough so Jason would hear and hide. He told Lucky that Elizabeth wasn't home. Lucky said he had a key. He would wait. That's not very nice of Jason to be using her studio to be looking at the warehouses.
Yeah.
I don't think I remembered that he had a reason for being there like that.
Well, no, because it was like, I hate the word shady, but
yeah, not nice.
I don't think it was shady, but I can't think of another word right now. Like it was.
No, shady works. It was because he said, I'm right where I want to be or where I should be or something. And it made it seem like it was all about Liz. And you went, and then to find out, no, he was doing it because of the position to the warehouse. That's not nice.
See, but anyone else, I would agree with that. But Jason, I do feel like it was more about Liz. I do. Like, I don't think that he would have, I think he would have stayed there even if there wasn't the other reason for him to.
Maybe. I don't know.
When it comes to her, that's what I think.
Okay. So Liz is surprised to return to her studio to find Lucky there instead of Jason. Apparently, he had been waiting for a while. She was able to cover her surprise about him being in her studio. Lucky, feeling a bit romantic, decides that he wants to share a dance with her, and in the meantime, he shares some very intimate thoughts about his feelings for her as Jason listens in from the closet. After she convinces Lucky that she has this huge project that she has to work on, he agrees to leave and meet her at Kelly's later, taking with him the groceries that she had brought for Jason. After he leaves, she tells Jason again that she cannot keep lying to Lucky and tells him that he must leave in 24 hours. He agrees. They both reach for one of the canvases at the same time. Their eyes connect as they lean in towards each other. Liz gets nervous and rushes out to get him something to eat. As she leaves, Jason stares at her with a mixture of sadness and longing on his face. Aww. Liz brought Jason lunch again. Liz says that she can't keep secrets from Lucky anymore. They talk about Valentine's Day. She thinks it's sad he doesn't have anyone to share it with. Lucky is planning a special private dinner for him and Liz. Lucky warns Nicholas he better buy Gia a present. Lucky gives
A
one of
private
his roses.
dance.
What?
A special private dance for him and Liz.
Oh, sorry. Lucky is planning a special private dance for him and Liz. Lucky warns Nicholas that he better buy Gia a present. He gives one of his roses for Liz to Maxie and a kiss on the cheek, which that was back when that was still okay. He can't do that now.
Well, I think that was also like that was little Maxie, not how old was Maxie in
Oh,
that
yeah,
wasn't
that's
Kirsten
true.
Storms yet.
Oh, wow. That was forever ago then. Okay.
This is 2000, right? This is still no, this
Yeah.
would be 2001.
Yeah, you're right. She would have been little.
She hadn't
Liz
been
and
aged up yet.
Yeah. Liz and Lucky meet up at a closed Kelly's. Liz has her arms full of spring flowers, spring water. She wants to recreate their perfect summer at the boxcar back when they were the only two people in the world. And then back at her studio, Jason tells Liz that last Valentine's Day, he was getting evidence to blackmail the Quartermaines to get Carly and Michael free. Liz is touched that even when he was away, he was still looking out for them. He looks at her and potentially says something, when you're away, feelings becomes clearer. And Liz looks out the window. She notices what a perfect view of the warehouse it is. So that's why you wanted to stay here, she comments. He looks at her softly and says, that is one of the reasons. She gives him homemade fudge and he gives her a piece of Italian blown crystal. She goes to the window and holds it up in the sunlight. Jason stands behind her with his arms around her as he looks down at her with the crystal. Get a little out of hand here. And then
Yeah.
there's a music montage of everyone getting Valentine's Day presents. Roy got Bobby a necklace. Lucky got Liz some roses. AJ got Hannah a dancing gorilla. Laura got flowers from Scotty. Liz got Jason some fudge. Jason got Liz the crystal. Gia and Nicholas are together. Sunny and Carly are together. Alexis and Mac at a fire. And Liz gives Lucky the scrapbook of pictures for the year he was gone.
Aw. So Maxie would have been like a tween, but she's
Okay.
still. It's
Like,
it's
she would have
important to
crushed
know
on
that
him,
this
but
was not
yeah.
the Maxie situation that we later have.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we see Lucky and Liz came upon a warehouse fire, and Liz is horrified to learn that Sunny and Jason are trapped inside. Lucky tries to get her to leave, but she refuses, saying she can't until she knows that they are okay. Jason and Sunny emerge from the fire. As Jason comes out of the building, he drops to his knees in front of Liz. He looks up at her, covered in soot, with big puppy dog eyes that seem to be asking something of her. Why do I feel like we're reading a Harlequin novel now? She drops the bouquet of white roses that Lucky had given to her as she returns Jason's look, frightened at the thought that he could have been hurt in the fire. And then he swept her up in his arms.
No.
Shoved Lucky aside and kissed her passionately. No, that did not happen. Greatly, there would be a lot more descriptor words if this was a Harlequin novel, actually. So.
That is true.
I never read one of those, but my mom did and a friend of mine did. And I remember reading one page and I was like, what the heck?
Yes, my Nana read those and I remember doing the same thing. Like, she'd have a stack of them and I was like, oh, these must be good if she has so many. And then I read like 3 pages and I was like a teenager at that point and I was like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Like, I don't understand what's throbbing.
She exposed her bosom.
Right. Oh, quivering. Sneaking those words in. Anyway, greatly relieved to see Jason in one piece, Elizabeth reluctantly allows Lucky to lead her away from the chaotic scene. Later, Elizabeth finds the romantic surprise Lucky had prepared in her room. I really understand why Lucky was trying to get her away, though, too, because that had to have been giving her flashbacks to when he...
Right, exactly. And any emergency scene, they don't need extra bystanders just standing there watching. Like, go ahead,
Right.
Move along.
Right. Lucky walked around the docks taking pictures. Luke stops by and they talk for a while. Oh, we don't find out what the romantic surprise was? Dang it! Anyway, Luke stops by and they talk for a while. Lucky admits he isn't seeing Dr. Collins anymore. Luke leaves and Liz comes by. Lucky goes on about how important honesty is and how bad secrets are. Liz feels bad and tells Lucky that she knew that Jason was in town. She didn't tell him where Jason had been staying yet.
Mm.
Lucky got mad at Liz for keeping the secret about Jason when Liz got mad at him for keeping the secret about Gia's test shoot. Absolutely fair.
Yes.
Lucky says that he needed time to think about all of this. He went to Nicholas and asked him what happened between Liz and Jason. He asked Nicholas if Liz and Jason had slept together or if they had dated. Nicholas said that he honestly didn't know, but when Liz was around Jason, she was different, stubborn. She would go on wild, super duper fast, super duper fast motorcycle rides with him and just isolate herself from her friends. Lucky and Jason argued about Elizabeth and Jason's intentions towards her. Lucky told him to stay away from Elizabeth. They nearly came to blows, but Elizabeth and Emily came by and broke them up. Jason told Lucky how they used to be friends, but he guessed that wasn't so anymore. Emily stood up for Jason, and Elizabeth finally dragged Lucky away.
Emily was working at Kelly's, and Xander was keeping her company. As they were playfully kissing, her brother Jason walked in the door. He said, "Excuse me, can I get some coffee?" She saw him and immediately ran over to give him a hug. Elizabeth and Lucky came down the steps. The room became filled with tension caused by Lucky's anger towards Jason. Lucky stared Lucky started in on Jason, and Emily tried to smooth things out. Finally, Lucky and Elizabeth leave and head over to Deception. Jason just looked surprised and shook his head as they left Kelly's. Elizabeth and Lucky arrive at Deception and are seated by Elton. Lucky brought up their disagreement, and Elizabeth told him she was unhappy with his behavior towards Jason. Jason only said 2 words, and you were down his throat. Lucky apologized and said that he was worried about her lie about Jason, and lies were what tore his family apart. Laura came in and explained all about the new test shoot for Elizabeth tomorrow. Laura had to run again because she was so busy, but bid them well until tomorrow. Lucky said he would bow out of the shoot if it made Elizabeth uncomfortable. Elizabeth told him no, she would be fine with him. She told him couples disagree from time to time and they would just have to work through it. As they arrived back at Kelly's, Lucky and Elizabeth not to see Jason ever again. She looked at him oddly and then told him that Jason would be around now to see his sister. Lucky said that things would be so much better for them if she would just stay away from Jason. Elizabeth finally conceded and told Lucky she would refrain from conversation with Jason and keep it down to hello and goodbye. Elizabeth looked wounded from Lucky's jealousy. Lucky and Elizabeth were in Laura's office, and she was telling them that she would officially announce Elizabeth as the face of Deception at the launch party, and they should have the first shoot done by then if possible. "I'll be taking the pictures," Lucky asked. "Who else?" Laura agreed. She said that they had to keep it completely confidential. Elizabeth asked if Carly knew yet, and Laura said she couldn't get in touch with her. The last time she talked to Carly, Carly hung up on her. She said they were going ahead with the campaign with or without Carly. Laura left the office, and Lucky thanked Elizabeth for agreeing not to see Jason again. He asked what she wanted to do to celebrate. They could go to Kelly's, Eli's for ice cream, or go walking in the snow. Elizabeth suggested ice skating, but told him she was joking. She said she had some work to do for school, and the sooner she did it, the sooner they could celebrate. Lucky said he wouldn't stand in the way of her art. Lucky dropped by to see Nicholas, and she told him, what? Oh, I'm
Gia?
guessing it's Gia. I'm sorry. I'm like, who said she?
No, that's
Okay.
okay.
Lucky dropped by to see Nicholas, and Gia told him that he wasn't home. She asked where
It's
the
okay.
face of deception was. Didn't she come along to gloat? "You know," Lucky asked. "Yes, breaking the news to Elizabeth at Winterfest. Nice touch," Gia replied. Lucky asked to come in, and seeing the boxes, asked if she was leaving, and did Nicholas know. He was sorry she found out the way that she had, but she knew it was a 50-50 chance Elizabeth would get the job. "Try 100%, Gia replied. She holds up her picture and asks Lucky if he really thinks Elizabeth deserves the job. Lucky said he didn't think Gia was a quitter. Nicholas came home and they argued about deception. Elizabeth went to Jake's to tell Jason they couldn't be friends anymore. They were talking, and she said she had a project to do for school, sketching someone in motion, and asked if she could draw Jason playing pool. Okay, those are 2 very different conversations, Liz. You don't get to say, "Hey, I can't talk to you anymore, but can I sketch you while you're playing pool?"
Right.
She did her sketch, and then Jason was showing her how to play pool when Lucky walked in. Lucky watched Elizabeth and Jason play pool for a while till Jason, then Elizabeth, spotted him. He came over and asked how it was again that she was going to stay away from Jason. Elizabeth told Lucky it wasn't planned, it just happened. Lucky said it looked pretty cozy with Jason's arms around her. She tried to defend herself, and Jason told Lucky to cool it. Lucky told Jason to butt out. It was between Elizabeth and him. He told Elizabeth if she meant it, tell Jason she can't see him anymore. Lucky and Elizabeth argued some more about Jason, him demanding she stay away from him and her objecting to his demands. He said that they had always been honest with each other till Jason had come along. She said she couldn't avoid him. They had mutual friends. Lucky said she could avoid Jason. They were leaving. She wouldn't go, so Lucky left alone. Jason asked if she was okay. She said she should go after Lucky, but he would expect an apology, and she wasn't up for that right then. She told Jason she was hurting Lucky without meaning to. She said she could be herself when she was with him. They ended up going for a ride on the motorcycle. I wonder if it was a super duper fast one.
Right.
Lucky got back to his room and started kicking furniture around. Emily came to see what was going on, and he told her what happened and how he had handled everything wrong, said all the wrong things to Elizabeth. He talked to Emily about their argument and asked why Jason was so important to Elizabeth. Jason took Elizabeth out to the country, not out of the country. I'm like, where are we going on a motorcycle?
Right.
Jason took
To Sweden, hello, over that bridge.
Yes.
Switzerland. Sorry.
Switzerland, because we can definitely get there by motorcycle.
Yep.
Jason took Elizabeth out to the country to this old farmland. She was feeling very good after the ride, but Lucky was bound to come up in conversation. Elizabeth felt guilty because she lied to Lucky and she lied to herself. I needed an excuse to see you one last time. Jason questioned her actions because none of her reasons to stop seeing him made sense, and least of all to her. The only reason that we became friends is because I missed Lucky and you missed Robin. Other than that, we are nothing alike, Elizabeth said. Jason told her that he could tell when people were lying, and he could especially see it on her face. She told him that Lucky had been calling her a liar all day and not to start in on her. He asked then, what is the word for saying something you don't feel or doing something you don't want to? Elizabeth answered, love. You do what they need when you're in love, even if it hurts you. What do you expect me to say, Elizabeth? You saved my life. I want to make Lucky happy, she says. That's your choice, Jason said. He continued, I like riding with you. I like the way you yell when we ride fast. I like the way you think of things in pictures and try to explain them to me. Elizabeth asked, why are you making this really difficult? I am so glad to know that it meant as much to me as it did to you. I loved being free, Jason, but I love Lucky more. Do me a favor and please don't ask me any more questions that I can't answer. Just accept that I am doing this even though I don't want to, and help me by staying away. Jason looked at her in disbelief and said, the thing is that you mostly come to me. Elizabeth could not respond to that and just said that she had to go. Jason looked wounded and sighed. He did not know what to say to her. He walked over to the bike and asked her if she wanted to go to the cliff road or the regular road. I mean, he's absolutely right. She was the one that sought him out all the time. So how can she be like, oh, stay away from me? Like going to Jake's and being like, hey, we can't be friends, but can I draw your picture and can you teach me how to play pool?
Right.
uh, anyway, Elizabeth chose the cliff route because she liked it, and he said he knew that. It was so hard for Jason when Elizabeth got on the back of the bike to put her arms around him. You could tell by his facial expression that he was hurting and that he had some real feelings for her, as she does for him. Jason dropped her off in the back of Kelly's. Elizabeth started to take off the helmet, and she told him thank you for the ride and walked away. Jason pulled her back to him on the arm, and she began asking about the farm again. Emily rushed out the door and said that she heard the motorcycle and thought it was Jason. Emily just said, goodbye, Jason, and left. Emily looked at
Elizabeth.
her brother. What?
Elizabeth said goodbye.
Oh, sorry. Elizabeth just said goodbye and left. Emily looked at her brother and knew that there was more going on than just friendship. She questioned him about Elizabeth and how close they were. He said she just wanted to know if they had slept together. Emily said that she would not ask that question. It was prying. Jason said, but you still want to know. He told her no, that they had not. Emily tried to relay in her own way that she was sorry if Jason was hurting, but she did not want him to leave because Elizabeth was going back to Lucky. He told her that he was going to do what he wanted to do, and Elizabeth was going to do what she wanted to do. He said, Emily, you have not done anything, so don't worry about this. It's not your problem. She told him that she loved him and she really just wanted him to be happy. And then Gia comes to Elizabeth's studio on the pretext of offering her formal rival an olive branch. Unable to resist playing mind games in light of new information about the other woman's past, Gia reminds an unnerved Elizabeth how her new career will make her the focus of the fantasies of thousands of strange men. Ugh, she's
So
so
messed up.
gross.
Yeah. And then at Kelly's, Elizabeth was getting ready for her big night, getting the jitters, and she thought about what Gia had said about being a model. Emily came to help her, and Elizabeth asked if it meant she wasn't mad at her anymore. Emily said she wasn't, but she still wouldn't be going without Xander. Elizabeth said that she was nervous, but not just about the launch party. It was a whole campaign with her face plastered all over. Lucky came in and asked if she was ready for stardom. Elizabeth said that she could hardly wait. She took off her housecoat, and Lucky said she looked fantastic. Thanks to Emily, Elizabeth said. Emily said all she did was blot and blend. Emily told Elizabeth to hold her head high and be happy. Lucky said he knew Elizabeth was scared to death, but what a great opportunity this was for both of them. At the deception party, Amy came over, and this is old Amy Vining, this is original Amy.
Yes.
Came over with Lucky and Elizabeth in tow. Laura told Liz that she looked gorgeous. She told them all that Lucky was going to be the new photographer. Max said he didn't know Lucky was interested in photography. Laura said he was a wonderful photographer. Of course, my mother isn't the least bit prejudiced, Lucky broke in. He said that he had a great subject. A guy interrupted and introduced himself as Brian Carver from DFS and asked what the subject happened, if that subject happened to be the face of deception. Laura asked Elizabeth how she was and told her she would signal her when she was ready to make the announcement. She wanted Elizabeth to come up and say a few words. Elizabeth didn't like that idea. She didn't know she was going to have to talk. Laura said just a few words off the cuff. She wanted them to have a chance to photograph her. Laura and Lucky reassured her, and Laura told her not to let anyone ruin her big day. Gia and Nicholas arrived, and Gia congratulated Elizabeth on winning the job. Elizabeth said hi, and Gia went on to say that she loved her outfit. It was so sweet. And she meant that like in a condescending, like you're dressed like a little girl, sweet, not.
Yep.
Laura told Gia that she was glad she came. She had been meaning to call her. She had been busy, but there was no excuse. Gia said it was okay, and she gave her fair chance, and she appreciated it. Laura said she supposed Carly had invited her, and Nicholas said Gia was his date. Laura said she better start circulating again and told them to have a wonderful time and enjoy the food. Lucky asked Nicholas if he could talk to him. Nicholas agreed and asked if Gia would be okay. Absolutely, she agreed. Nicholas told Lucky that Gia had every right to be there. Lucky said she must since Nicholas had invited her. Lucky said he was just wondering why Gia would want to come and see them announce Elizabeth as the new face of deception. Nicholas said that Gia loves her modeling, and there were a lot of people there who could jumpstart her career. Nicholas told Lucky he had to admit that Gia looked incredible in the dress. Lucky agreed. Gia commented on Elizabeth looking so calm. She said she would be a nervous wreck knowing that she was the focus of so much attention. She said that she admired Elizabeth for taking this on, and Elizabeth said she had admired Gia for such a convincing performance. Audrey came up to Elizabeth and apologized for being late. She had a double shift. She wished she could be there for the announcement. She told Elizabeth how proud she was of her. Edward, Alan, and Monica arrived. They're all gone now.
Yep.
And greeted Elizabeth. Sorry. Monica asked about Emily, and Elizabeth said Xander hadn't been invited, so Emily wanted to stay with him. Edward said he would thank Laura for not inviting the convict. He hoped the criminal element had been excluded. And then Carly asked Gia if she still wanted to be the face of deception. Gia said yes, but isn't it a little late? Carly said it wasn't if Gia wanted to work for it. She told Gia to make sure Laura went up to the roof and leave her stranded there for about a half hour. Laura made the announcement that in about a half hour or so, she would name the new face of deception. Are you crazy, Gia asked Carly. She wanted to know how she was supposed to lock Mrs. Spencer on the roof. Carly said no problem. She paid the maintenance man a bundle to make sure the door was unlocked. She told Gia that she had a half hour to get Laura on the roof or she was going to announce Miss Muppet, referring to Elizabeth as the new face of deception. And then, long story short, Gia gets Laura up onto the roof. And then Laura was supposed to be making the announcement. Unfortunately for them, Gia had been there. And I guess Mac went up there too. There's just like a lot of detail here that we don't really totally need. And
right, bottom line was that Carly jumped on stage and took over.
Yeah. And Carly got up on stage, thanked everyone for coming in. Laura and Mac are locked up on the roof. And she said how she had assembled everyone together, how the road had been long, but they were just about there. The reporters were asking who the face of deception was. Carly announces Liz and Gia are the two candidates for the position and says that an announcement will be forthcoming. The press is disappointed. Everyone is shocked too, as they had expected Elizabeth to be announced as the new face of deception. Nicholas and Lucky wondered what had happened to their mother, and they confronted Carly. Everyone started to raise his or her voice, and Sonny immediately came to Carly's rescue. Lucky told Sonny he would talk to his wife in any way he wanted to. Alexis interjected and suggested that they'd all do this another time, and all agreed. Everyone's looking for Laura. All right, and then like everyone is looking for Laura and everything, and they find her up on the roof. And everyone figures that Gia definitely had something to do with it. And then there was an after party at Kelly's, and Lucky discouraged Elizabeth from staying and socializing with Emily because Jason was there. Emily asked Jason if it bothered him to see Liz going upstairs with Lucky, but that's a weird question to ask your brother.
Right?
But he said she has to live her own life. Elizabeth was doubting her ability to model, but Lucky was convinced it's their dream come true. Later downstairs with Emily, Elizabeth admitted she wonders whose dream it was, hers or Lucky. I mean, I get that, but they've been planning on being some kind of an artist in New York for so long that this could just be seen as like a step to it, like something to pay the bills while they're creating music, painting, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely how Lucky was looking at it.
She said she can't tell Lucky that she doesn't want to model and that she will continue the modeling career for Lucky. And then there was another photo shoot for Deception. Laura was having the first shoot with Liz, and she is dressed a la Audrey Hepburn in a black dress, long white gloves, and hair swept up with a tiara. Everything was going well until Carly came in and ruined things, as she does. She made fun of Elizabeth and the whole shoot, and they argued again about what was right for Deception, with threats on both sides to buy one another out. Finally, Elizabeth got fed up, telling them to let her know when they had everything settled. Jason opened his door to find Elizabeth. Instead of heading for her studio where Lucky assumed she went to see Jason. She could tell him how she really feels about modeling. He asked why she was dressed up, and why do you think she just told you that she can tell you?
Right. I just came from a photo shoot. Why do you think I'm dressed up?
I mean, I have random tiara Tuesdays sometimes when I have a bad day and I just put on my wedding tiara, but I'm not walking around town in it.
I mean, you should.
I should. I sit on my couch with a glass of wine and read. There, everyone knows my secret. Get a tiara. And she told him she was supposed to be Audrey Hepburn, an Audrey Hepburn lookalike. She talked to Jason about how she didn't want to disappoint Lucky, but modeling wasn't really what she wanted to do. They talked for a while, and he helped clean off all of the makeup on her face. There was a great scene as Jason holds her face gently, looks temptingly at her mouth as his thumb strokes her cheek. Ooh. She looks up at him with a mixture of sorrow and longing, almost beseeching. Okay.
Oh my.
He leans in to kiss her. She leans in towards him and then pulls back before their lips meet. They hugged, but were interrupted by a knock at the door. Liz hides in the bathroom. Oh, it's his place. I'm like, why is she hiding in her own bathroom? I was thinking studio. Like I went back to the studio in my head. And Gia enters uninvited. Gia had gone to warn Elizabeth about Lucky being downstairs. Jason tells Gia to get out. Before she leaves, she notices the white gloves laying on the table and the glass with the lipstick on it. She leaves and says, "Gotcha," to herself. And Jason gave Liz money for a cab and took her out the back way. Lucky went to see Liz, but found her studio empty. He hoped she wasn't with Jason. Nicholas and Gia came to Jake's, and Lucky came in looking for Elizabeth. Sure, she was with Jason and started to go upstairs, but Nicholas stopped him. He told Lucky that Elizabeth could be anywhere, not necessarily with Jason. She could be with Emily. Lucky waits for Liz at her studio. Gia's back to her conniving ways, blackmailing Elizabeth this time. She told Liz that she'll keep quiet about finding her in Jason's room if Liz resigns as Deception's model. Gia threatened Elizabeth. She said that unless Liz gave up her job with Deception, she would go to Lucky with the truth about where Elizabeth was when she was supposed to be at the mall. Elizabeth denied being at Jake's with Jason, but Gia proved she didn't buy it by saying, I can't begin to understand why you need to make yourself and everyone around you miserable before you allow yourself who you really want to be with, Jason. Elizabeth told Gia to leave. Gia gave Elizabeth until noon the next day to quit Deception or she will go to Lucky.
She is so mean. Lucky just happened to be standing on the dock when Helena walked by, which gives her the chance to try to lure him back into her web. She never stops. Jason showed up at Elizabeth's studio, where he found her still in the black dress and crying. Elizabeth briefly fell into Jason's arms, then pulled away. She told him that she can't see him anymore because that meant lying to Lucky. Jason didn't want to accept that as a solution, but he said he would stay away from her. However, if she ever needed him, he would never turn her away. Luke was concerned about Helena and her effect on Lucky. Laura got angry and told Luke that he was living in the past. What if Lucky isn't as together as he wants us to believe? Luke shouted, just as Lucky walked into the room. Luke told Lucky that the problem with Helena won't end until she is dead. Lucky admitted he ran into Helena on the dock, but that he was able to walk away from her without any trouble. Upset about his father's renewing the war against the Cassadines, Lucky complains to Elizabeth about Luke's relentless obsession with Helena. Elizabeth confides to Emily that she's being blackmailed by Gia. Elizabeth tenders her resignation to a puzzled Laura. Elizabeth was saying how it was torture being in front of the lights. Laura said she would bar Carly from any further shots. Lucky said Elizabeth had been trying to tell him for weeks how she felt, but he hadn't listened. Both Lucky and Elizabeth tried to tell Laura that Elizabeth didn't want to do it, Lucky even getting real heated about it. Laura asked Elizabeth if she got her a coach, would she reconsider? Elizabeth agreed she would give it a try and then told Lucky she wouldn't try. It was okay. She left and Laura and Lucky talked. Lucky told Laura he had to change his attitude. He had told Elizabeth and Jason they couldn't be friends and he shouldn't have. Laura agreed that he shouldn't. He said he would go see Jason and explain. Jason was holding Elizabeth's gloves and seeing her there in his room. Sonny called him to come over there. Lucky went to see Jason and knocked on his door. There was no answer, so he tried the door and it was unlocked. He went in and was looking around. He decided to leave a note and was starting to write when he saw Elizabeth's gloves. He picked them up and was clutching them, saying Elizabeth's name. You can't just go walking into somebody's apartment, Lucky. Like, what the heck?
No.
Elizabeth and Gia were talking and threatening each other. Elizabeth told Gia she was going to continue as the face of Deception. Gia called her cold and selfish when Gia really wanted the job and she didn't. Elizabeth stopped short of calling Gia a B word. She commented that blackmail must be a pattern for Gia. Gia said Laura wouldn't even let Elizabeth clean her office when she found out about her and Jason. Elizabeth said she would believe. Who did she think she was going to believe, her or Gia? Gia said she saw Elizabeth's gloves at Jason's. Elizabeth got a look on her face and left, telling Gia to stay out of her life. And then on Helena's yacht, Helena was looking at something, maybe the Ice Princess. She said whoever owned it could control Lucky Spencer. She told Andreas it was past time for her ultimate revenge. Anger is the fuel she could use to turn Lucky into an instrument of revenge. She said she had the power to turn every drop of Lucky Spencer's anger into a murderous torment of rage. Lucky finds Liz's long white gloves in Jason's apartment. As he goes downstairs, he overhears Elizabeth asking Jason for her gloves. Lucky hides a face of rage and hurt as he eavesdrops on them. Helena had told her playmate that the next step for Lucky is to get in touch with his anger. She seems to know that he will hurt someone, but she isn't quite sure who the victim will be. That's a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
Gia told Lucky that she had gone to Jason's room, and even though she did not see Liz, she had seen her gloves. A tearful Lucky leaves and runs into the devilish Helena. Helena holds the ice princess in front of his eyes. She uses her mind control to ask Lucky why he is so irate. She eggs him on to get Jason and gives him a small dagger or knife. With this weapon in hand, a jealous, despondent Lucky grabs Jason around the neck. The knife at his neck, Lucky pulls the knife on Jason and told him that Elizabeth was his and no one else's. Jason, being an extremely capable opponent, took Lucky down. Of course,
Well, that's also
unfortunately,
why you don't walk into someone's apartment if you know that they like carry and that they are
right,
willing to use their weapon. I mean,
yeah,
you're not
and like
supposed to have it unless you're willing to use it, but at the same time,
right, and like you're not just like starting a fight with him. You're holding a knife to his neck. Like, hello, he's going to retaliate.
right.
Retaliate.
Well, and especially where
Um,
he could probably tell that Lucky wasn't Lucky, that Lucky was
right.
definitely responding in a way that was not him. So obviously he's like, ooh, something's going on here. Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, Lucky would not stay down. Jason had to really pound on Lucky at the instant when Jason was inflicted with his final, as he did his final kick. Oh, poor Liz. Elizabeth arrives and is horrified. She yells Jason to stop. Jason knew that he was in the worst possible position with no way out. Elizabeth immediately went to Lucky's defense and blasted Jason for his wrongdoing. She added insult to injury and did not allow Jason to explain. She ordered him to leave. He did, but Jason listened as Lucky slammed the door shut on Jason's friendship with Elizabeth. She ushered Lucky to the hospital where he saw Tony. Melissa sat down and talked to Elizabeth. She was understanding, but Melissa also showed that her anger about Roy lying to her was not over, as she had led Bobby and Roy to believe. Tony returned Lucky to Elizabeth. Lucky was okay. He had no broken bones, just sprains and a deep cut on his forehead. When Lucky and Elizabeth entered his room, Lucky continued to badmouth Jason. Laura gasps in dismay when Lucky walks into her office with his arm in a sling and a face full of bruises. Lucky tells his mother that Jason viciously attacked him without provocation. Now, I'm sorry, but Laura would need to know that that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Laura went to see Luke to talk about Lucky. She told him she thought Lucky was in danger, but not from the Cassadines. She told him about Jason beating up Lucky. She said that he must have got mad about Elizabeth and Lucky and took it out on Lucky. She was surprised that Jason would do that to Lucky when Lucky never did anything to Jason. Laura was talking about what Elizabeth would see in Jason, and it brought her back to the past. Luke commented that no matter how far a person traveled, they always end up in the same place. He was telling Laura that he would go see Jason. Laura said to wait till he had children of his own. He would protect them. Lucky said he would know when they were grown up to stay out of their lives. Luke asked Laura if he could be alone with Lucky. Lucky agreed, and Laura left. Lucky told Luke to respect him enough to leave him alone to make his own mistakes. He brought up the rape again. And then Elizabeth went to her studio and found Jason there. He tried to explain what really happened. Elizabeth wouldn't listen to him, just screamed at him. He told her Lucky had held a knife to his throat, but she didn't believe him. She said that he had thought that Jason was good. She had thought that Jason was good and kind, even though he had tried to tell her different. Lucky and Nicholas had warned her about him. She wanted him to leave and never see him again. After he left, she threw something at the door and it broke. Later, Lucky came by and she told him that Jason had said that he held a knife to his throat. Lucky said that didn't happen. Jason was sick. He asked what it was that she was cleaning up, and she told him about being mad at herself for believing in Jason, and she threw it at the door. And then back at Luke's room, Luke had some kind of weird dream about running down quarters, screaming out Lucky and Lulu's name. Lucky warned Luke that he, Liz, Nicholas, and Gia were going to a party at his club and that if Luke didn't behave, they would leave. Grudgingly, Luke agreed to let them stay and to be polite to Nicholas. He maintained, except for asking Nick to carry a message to his grandmother. Tell her she will never get what she wants from me. Never. Liz taunted Gia with a warning that she would tell Nicholas that Gia had tried to blackmail her. When Nicholas overheard part of the warning and asked what was up, Gia lied her butt off and Liz didn't tell. And then Laura showed up and asked Elton if Mrs. Corinthos to show her presence. Elton said that she was in her office. Laura was going to go in, but he said there was a wonderful surprise in her office. A wonderful surprise beats Carly any day, she said. She went into her office, taking the mail with her. She threw it on her desk. She saw Lucky there. She was surprised. She was happy to see him. He told her that he had seen Luke the night before and he was having financial troubles. He said he still kept up his child support payments. He said Luke would dig ditches to make sure that she got paid. Laura told Lucky if he didn't want his father to worry about him, then don't worry about his father. She said it was always feast or famine with him. Emily and Elizabeth argued about Jason. Emily wouldn't believe that Jason would attack Lucky without being provoked. She told Elizabeth to find Jason so he could see Monica. Elizabeth ran into Jason and said that she thought he had left town because of her. He said he would be around for a while. He left and Elizabeth saw Tony and asked if he would tell her grandmother something came up and they would have to get together later. So there she goes chasing after Jason again, but then she's going to turn around and blame it on him.
Right.
And so Gia headed for the elevator after her meeting with Laura, but Carly caught her and took her into her office. She showed her the picture naming Gia the face of deception. Gia asked where she got it, and Carly said all she needed to know was that in a couple of days she would be named the face of deception. Gia thanked her for going to bat for her, but she wasn't sure she even wanted the job anymore. That didn't sit well with Carly, who threatened Gia if she didn't cooperate. She said she wanted to destroy the relationship with Laura and Nicholas, telling them that Gia was the one who locked Laura on the roof at the launch party. Gia had a bad dream about being on trial for all her lies and blackmailing. Carly, Elizabeth, Laura, and Emily all called her liar, and even Nicholas rejected her. She woke up yelling.
Then Liz is in denial. She will not even admit her feelings to Jason to herself. She wanted to give Jason a chance to explain because she is trying so hard to make things right for herself. Elizabeth valued Jason as a friend because she is always able to be herself with him. It was apparent that she just could not let Jason go. Jason told his story for a second time and tried to let Elizabeth know that he did not start the altercation with Lucky. Elizabeth could not believe the Lucky she knew would ever attack Jason. The air was tense, and both Jason and Elizabeth struggled to maintain their respective sides. Jason moved closer to her, and they almost kissed when Jason pulled back. Thank goodness Jason kept his restraint because Lucky was in the park and headed their way. Lucky saw the two of them together and became agitated as always. He took Elizabeth home and started his own romance with her. Unfortunately, Elizabeth could not seem to get thoughts of Jason out of her mind. Elizabeth went to see Nicholas, and he asked if she was ready for her big night. She said no, but she didn't have much time before she went and had the makeup and hair people perform their Cinderella act on her. Nicholas asked Elizabeth if she could try and be a little nicer to Gia. Gia really wanted to go to the party. Elizabeth tried to tell him that maybe it was best for Gia not to go and watch Elizabeth be named the face of deception. Nicholas just wanted Elizabeth to try and get along with Gia. He knew Gia could be difficult, but someone else he knew used to be like that. Oh, come on, I never blackmailed anybody, Elizabeth protested. She agreed to try and get along with Gia, reminding herself what Gia meant to Nicholas. Gia was coming in the door as Elizabeth was leaving. Gia asked Elizabeth to come in. She wanted to talk to her. She apologized to Elizabeth, saying how she acted like her life depended on getting this job. Nicholas made her see it didn't. She was sorry she didn't see it sooner. How sorry? Elizabeth asked. She said they both knew if the job was handed to her on a silver platter, she would grab it. They talked a little more, and Elizabeth told Gia to try being someone that Nicholas deserved.
Ooh.
Lucky and Elizabeth made their appearance at the deception party at Luke's, and Laura told Elizabeth how beautiful she looked. She asked Elizabeth if she was nervous, and Elizabeth said she wanted to get through the evening. Laura told her what was important was how much she wanted to be the face of deception. Nicholas and Gia arrived and went and joined Lucky and Elizabeth. They all toasted Elizabeth on her evening. Cameron, Xander's dad, Cameron. Austin. Cameron Austin. Hold it. Wait. Oh, no. Sorry, this is a different Cameron.
Yep.
Cameron Austin from Belle Magazine introduced himself to Laura. She thanked him. Where we already have Xander, I automatically went to that's who that was.
How many Camerons do we need?
Right. She thanked him for coming, and he said that his magazine wanted to rush a fashion layout for Gia for next month's issue. His editor ordered him to be the first in line to book a couple days with Gia. Laura said there must be some confusion because Gia wasn't on contract with Deception. Then what's this? He asked Laura as he shows her the layout in the magazine with Gia's pictures. Laura is shocked into silence. Laura told Cameron there must be a mistake referring to the magazine layout. He said he was the fashion editor of Belle magazine. Why don't we have Belle magazine anymore? That'd be a great conflict for Crimson. Competition, not conflict. Jeez. Gia told Nicholas she couldn't do the party after all. He understood and said that they would say goodbye to his mom. She said she would go to the ladies' room first. He said, no, come with him. If a girl has to go to the restroom, let her go. She was nervous about what Laura was going to say. Laura held up the magazine and asked Gia if she knew about it. Gia told her she didn't pose for the picture. It was one of her old test shots. Laura showed the picture to Lucky, and he recognized it as one of the test shots that he had done. Scott said there was no problem. They would sue Carly, take Sunny's 1%, and do what they like with Deception. Nicholas agreed with Scott. Laura didn't want a lawsuit. She just wanted to sell perfume. Yeah, with Elizabeth as your signature model, Lucky said, drawing Elizabeth to his side. A lawsuit would generate the kind of press we don't want right now, Laura said. Gia asked what she was going to do. Laura said she was going to have her party and make an announcement and worry about it later. Nicholas and Gia were going to leave the party, and Gia apologized to Elizabeth if she ruined her evening. Elizabeth said it was a beautiful ad, and Cameron Austin heard and said he would like to meet the stunner that posed for it. Nicholas and Gia went to talk with him, Nicholas knowing him from when he worked for Deception. Laura came over and apologized to Cameron for the mix-up with the ad. She said that Gia had come really close and they had their new faces. Basically, they're just going back and forth about how this actually happened. And then Cameron says that Liz was really pretty. Laura said Elizabeth really wanted to be anywhere but there. Nope, that was Scott that said that. And so then, Laura introduces Liz to him and he says, she's cute, but, this one over here has real star power. She had real style. And then Lucky was angry on Elizabeth's behalf and couldn't understand why she was so calm. Laura asked to speak with Elizabeth alone, and Laura told Elizabeth that she did seem pretty calm, and Elizabeth said it was just a picture in a magazine, and it was a beautiful one. Laura said it should have been her in the ad, not Gia. She asked Elizabeth if she should have let her resign when she wanted to. Laura told Scott to look at the picture of Gia and then look at the girl herself. She wanted to know what he thought. He said Elizabeth was really pretty. Laura said Elizabeth really wanted to be anywhere but there. Laura went on to make her announcement. She thanked everyone for coming and hoped they had a good time. Carly came in, and Laura started the announcement. The new face of Deception is Gia Campbell. Everyone except Lucky was thrilled about the news. Nicholas and Gia hugged, and even Laura herself finally recognized that Carly was right. Laura acknowledged that Carly was correct and told her that is why she chose Gia. Her decision was based on all the right reasons. Lucky was steaming from the news. Elizabeth was quite relieved. Laura went over to Lucky and Elizabeth to apologize. She told Liz that she finally heard her and realized that she really did not want to be the face of Deception. Lucky was still angry, but Laura stuck to her decision and told them both that she loved them. Liz finally manages to convince Lucky that she is happy with the way that things turned out. So then, probably the next day or so, we see Lucky and Nicholas talking about the family and the family war. Luke asks Lucky for some help. Laura overhears Luke trying to get Lucky to help him decode the discs. Lucky says no way, and he leaves. On the docks, Helena is holding the Ice Princess and tells Lucky it's time. Lucky tries to resist, and Helena uses the hold of the Ice Princess to convince Lucky do what needs to be done. Helena leaves, and Lucky sits down still in a daze and shock. Liz arrives and snaps him out of it. She suggests going back to her room, snuggling and finding something to do. Wink, wink. But Lucky refuses. He has something to do. Liz suggests Liz's questions get him to admit that sometimes he feels afraid for no apparent reason. Lucky gets upset when Liz suggests a session with Kevin. She ends up reassuring him that all will be well, and Lucky leaves. Before Liz can leave, Helena arrives and asks where Lucky is. Liz pretty much tells her none of your business, and Helena is pleased. Lucky arrives at Luke's office. It's empty, and Lucky starts to leave when something on the desk catches his attention. Luke is asleep in his chair having another bad dream. He's again running through the dimly lit corridor, desperately calling for Lulu and Lucky. When he looks up, there is a person at the other end holding out their arms, and all we see is a pair of hands. He gets up and makes his way to the end of the corridor, but no one is there. Looking up and raising his arms towards heaven, he cries out, "Don't leave me." Lucky arrives and awakens him. Lucky's questions about his dream upset Luke. Why is Lucky there? He wants to help with the disc decoding. Why the change of mind? That question upsets Lucky. Does Luke want help or not? They're discussing Roy as Luke goes to the safe and discovers that the discs are missing. He immediately blames Helena and her minions. Lucky examines the safe. There's no break-in, he states. When Luke presses, Lucky admits that although he wants nothing to do with the Cassadine-Spencer war, Nicholas expressed the desire to see Luke beat Helena. That upsets Luke. Why is it bad for Luke to want revenge for all the bad things the Cassadines have done to his loved ones, but okay for Nicholas to want the same? This upsets Lucky, who says he is happy Helena stole the discs back. Maybe now it will be over and they can go back to being a normal family. As Lucky leaves, Luke asks, when were we ever a normal family? Then we see Helena talking to herself or an unseen person. I'm going to go with herself. She's monologuing, right, to herself?
Right.
Soon we will have everything we want, including the destruction of the entire Spencer family. Melissa is sitting on a bench, having a flashback to Roy shooting. Who's Melissa?
I don't know.
Okay. She asks where he is going. Oops, sorry. Jason walks by, stops short when he sees Liz approaching from the opposite direction. She asks where he is going, and he answers, does it matter? Hurt by his abrupt answer, Liz starts to walk away. Jason reaches for her. Liz cries out, let me go. Melissa jumps in to see if Liz needs help. After Liz's reassurance that they are friends, Jason leaves. Liz asks Melissa if they can talk. Melissa and Liz discuss Liz's feelings for Jason and how they became friends while they thought Lucky was dead. Elizabeth tells her she doesn't want to feel anything for him. Without mentioning names, Melissa tells Liz about a similar situation in her life and how she had to face her true feelings. Liz insists that they are just friends. She loves Lucky. Melissa is paged by the hospital and has to leave. Before she goes, she offers a last piece of advice. You have to be honest with yourself before you can be honest with others. Jason is on his way back through the park when he sees Liz. He tries to walk by, but she speaks to him. She admits that she misses him. When she asks, Jason admits that he wants more than friendship with her. Liz admits to it also. They are about to kiss when Lucky arrives and interrupts. After Lucky told her she didn't have to explain herself, Liz told him it was time for her to be honest with everyone, including herself. They left Jason there, where then he saw Carly, who needed to be consoled. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
She told him about the night of the deception party and how her and Sonny connected. She expressed her frustration over him changing his mind about another baby. He doesn't want me to be the mother of his child, Carly lamented. Jason told her that she needs to be patient and reminded her of her ability to change Sonny's mind on important matters. Carly realized that she would have to believe enough for the both of them. Back at the loft, Liz told Lucky the truth about her friendship with Jason. She explained that when everyone thought he was dead, she had an empty place in her heart that no one could fill. Jason was there for her at the time and helped her get through her loss. I never stopped loving you, Lucky, but now I realize that I never stopped caring for Jason either. As their argument escalated, Lucky said, I can't shake this feeling that something's wrong and something bad is going to happen. He then stormed out of the loft while Liz begged him to stay. Liz then left the loft, hoping she would find Lucky, and Lucky went back to the wharf in tears. To the pier?
Right.
Lucky suddenly appeared and began hurling insults at Carly and Jason, accusing them of having an affair. Although Jason tried to calm both Lucky and Carly down, the situation escalated to the point where Lucky launched another physical attack. When Elizabeth came along, she assumed that Jason had been the attacker, not Lucky. Carly ripped into Elizabeth, calling her a spoiled little girl who can't make up her mind. When Liz asked Lucky to tell her the truth, he walked away. At that point, Jason asked Liz to come with him. Jason asks Liz to leave Port Charles with him. She declines the invitation. Even though she has feelings for him, she has realized her place is with Lucky. Jason warns her that Lucky is dangerous. She is confident he would never hurt her. Liz and Jason discuss Lucky's odd behavior. Jason pleads with Liz, get away from him, even if you don't come with me. Liz admits to her feelings for him, but she belongs with Lucky. Jason graciously accepts her decision. Liz apologizes if she hurt him and walks away. She knows he is watching and hesitates when she reaches the end of the park path, but does not look back. Then she leaves. And then we see Helena giving Lucky a small vial and the instructions, keep out of sight until ready to use it.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cryptic. I wonder what happens next.
I don't know. Maybe we should find out next week. Or if you're listening to this years later, you can just go right on ahead to the next episode. Happy
That's
binging. Right. But yeah, join us on Monday as we recap this week's shows.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to peer54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Peer 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at peer54podcast@gmail.com.